Nah, I wasn't partying. I was stretching.
Oh, that was that one?
Yeah,
that was a horrible stretch.
Was it a horrible stretch? Like, don't judge my stretch, first of all.
I'm just saying, that's not cardiovascular correct.
Is it?
Hilarious.
It is.
Yeah, you go pull something.
It's gonna hurt
take me to the hospital?
Gonna hurt something.
You can drive the car.
After the show, you
But
gonna be a pain in the car.
You can drive the car.
Let's do that. Yes. What's happening, y'all? What's happening, y'all? It is Wednesday night. Welcome back to AU, the show where you're not a victim, but you're a volunteer to invigorate in conversations. It's Wednesday. It's Hump Day.
Right. Left.
Y'all made it through Valentine's Day?
Yeah, we did. That was last week.
Yeah,
I know. I'm just saying.
It was like 7 whole days.
It was.
7 whole days.
I was waiting
How did I know we was going to do that?
I was waiting for
Not
it.
a word from you.
Come on, old face.
Not baby face. That was petty. Anyway, get on my damn nerves today. I can't stretch. I can't do nothing right with y'all. That's cool.
Look at you, messing up with technology.
Hey, whatever. Judge my phone.
Yeah, stupid.
Anyway,
it's Wednesday. It's Hump Day. Welcome, y'all. Welcome back, of course, to the Hottest Live family. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. Yo, the numbers have been looking marvelous.
Yes, they have.
So thank you, and special shout out to the Hottest Live family, to our Facebook Live family. We love y'all and we appreciate you guys. Our numbers always look good on Facebook. Thanks to you, and we appreciate y'all. We love y'all so much, and all y'all, for y'all country folk, y'all.
What did y'all say in Jamaica?
Oh no.
Oh no.
All right. Ala uno. That's what we said. Ala uno. Oh. Shout out to the Hottest Live Radio. Listen, if you have a cell phone, if you have a wireless device, listen, go to your app store, download the hottestlive.com, and it's an app. Download the Hottest Live Radio. It's an app where they have constant music, shows, and everything else playing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can also catch us here, the AO Show, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. right here on the Hottest Live Radio. You can also catch us on the Are You Open Facebook page, where you can catch our shows live and interact with us throughout the comments and feeds. And we'll talk to you and all that great stuff.
Right. And also, if you have a smartphone, iPhone, Android, download that podcast app.
Definitely.
Type in Are You Open? You can listen to the past shows while you're on your way to work, while you at work, while you leaving work, while you home.
Right.
All of the above.
Even if you unemployed.
Right. You ain't got nothing to do.
Absolutely.
Get off the couch.
Right. If you on the block, I mean, we here for you.
Right.
Okay.
As long as you open, so are we. We're always open on the podcast app.
Absolutely. You know, Nelly 7-Eleven.
You know it. Only for a specific person.
She done changed her ways.
I done got delivered over the weekend.
I bet
Delivered
you did.
some. Never mind.
We don't want to go over that.
And he's not dead. Thank you, Jesus.
Give it time.
No, don't kill him, Lord. I need him.
Oh, okay. You don't kill him.
Y'all stupid. What's happening, y'all? Listen. I'm trying to put the comments up there, but I can't even do it. Shout out to everyone that's tuning in with us. Listen, it's not too late. Log on to Are You Open, the Facebook page, or hit us up on the Hottest Live Radio from your wireless device. And don't forget to download the app at your Google Play and iTunes App Store. Right. Definitely. So what's happening, guys? How's your week been?
Week was great. Not really. Started off rocky. It's leveling out though. We cool.
Okay. Still here.
Blessed.
You survived?
I did survive.
Did everybody else make
Surviving.
it?
Yeah, they made it. Everybody made it. Everybody made it. Shut up. I swear, these dudes trolling,
Thank
man.
you, Lord.
Whatever. Let's move on.
I save lives to get money. Yeah, me. That's it. That's all I do.
You're saving lives and
You
getting
don't
money.
care. You don't care about nothing. Remember your car was messed up?
You're right. You
I'm
don't care about
judgy
that.
about the things that people need
crazy.
to hear. Listen, I understand.
No, you don't.
I told my people this week. I said, I understand. I just don't care. See, and that's what's key, right? You should always have understanding. People have understanding. Understanding is imperative.
Well, the Bible says, in all I get understanding.
Absolutely. The Bible does not say and always care. So, I do not have the time to invest the care, but I do understand your plight.
movie going. God bless everybody out here.
That's
Shout
why you're
out
not a
to
therapist.
Black Panther if everybody went to go see it. I didn't see it yet. Nellie's going Friday.
Yes.
Jarrell went 4 times.
Yes.
Seen it on Fire
Y'all know
Stick.
what
You
that
go see
means?
you 4 times for real?
Listen, no, not 4 times.
I
I
was
don't have
about to
4
say,
times
wow.
to a movie money. What else this is we right now. We ain't made no money off this shit.
I can't.
Right.
Right.
I can't.
Anybody?
Y'all can book us if you want.
Please do.
we
Please
will
do.
accept the extra check.
Except
Yes,
for
we
the
will.
friends.
Yes, we will.
Feel
But,
free to reach out to ruopen18@gmail.com.
Thanks. We are there. We in there. Yo, but definitely shout out to the Black Panther movie. They made 248 million in 1 week.
That's what's up.
Yo, that's crazy.
Gotta bless.
And to everybody who got dressed up in their dashikis and did it up, shout out to
Yo, you see the
That's
chick
what's up.
dancing? I don't know what she was doing. Sorry, not
She
your
good.
iPad. I'm bugging
She
today.
was,
It was a real
this is
thing.
good.
Yeah, that
she
was
was
dope,
doing
though.
it.
Yeah,
She was
shout out to
definitely
her.
doing it. It was good. It was definitely good stuff.
That is super important for the culture.
Yeah.
I think people I think we need color faces on screens. And that's what makes it worldwide. You know, we didn't have that when none of us were young.
That's true.
Right? So
That's true.
Yeah. And
Right.
all the superheroes were white.
which
Wow.
should we just go to it now? Because we
Oh,
here.
yeah, might as well.
Yeah,
man.
Let's go in there.
Just because that was the AOPOV topic, you know, what the world talking about,
Right.
Black Panther, and kind of in the hype of it. Even though they have not yet seen it, they have clearly seen the dashikis online. I know y'all seen the lions across the chest, like
King
Zamunda.
Joffrey Drew first.
Yes,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
knew it
I
was
seen
coming
Prince
back to
Hakeem.
America out this
Yeah, it was
Absolutely.
crazy.
Good. It was like, wow.
That's a fact.
Do y'all think it was warranted or overdone?
I think it's-
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead. I had to say it before you say it.
Because you know what?
You was about to
I
blast
think
me.
it was warranted. I think that's definitely what's up. Represent the culture. Enjoy. My whole thing was I'm just glad everybody was safe. Like
Absolutely.
didn't nobody act a fool. It was no drama. We represented well. So shout out to all of us. Real talk.
For
Was
me,
it
I think
warranted?
it's definitely warranted. I think that we should celebrate how we need to celebrate. It's a happy thing. And we represented it well. Absolutely. Shout out to everybody that went and supported the movie. I will be supporting it this week. Some people overdid it. I
Wait for
wouldn't
that
say
energy
overdid it. I
core.
can't. She's putting a battery in my back. I had a whole different response to the
Yeah,
call.
absolutely. He is not
Shut
keeping the
up.
same energy. Let the world know.
Anyway, listen, I changed it though. I said, you know what? They need to support the movie. Go ahead, do your thing. Now, if they bought like a whole lion from Zamunda in the movie theater, scaring kids and all that, that's a little much. But at the end of the day, man, I'm just supporting the movie. I think it was dope. Think it is dope, honestly, to see us represented in that way is amazing. So keep it going.
You know
Black
what?
Panther Part 2.
The part 2. I said something in the car like it was so dope to have black superheroes.
Yep.
Right.
Because we're never looked at in that light. We
Absolutely.
always looked at with the negativity and the drug dealers and the killing and all that.
Right.
So it's hot to actually have a black superhero. And that's somebody was saying on Facebook, he was actually applauding it because he was like, he had a superhero. He liked Superman. He's a
Right.
white man. He was like, why can't black people have their superheroes too? Like, people of color. What was the problem with that?
I'm gonna make it even bigger than that, right? Because think about it. When we were little, the only superheroes or the main superheroes were Caucasian superheroes, right?
Right.
Now we're gonna have little Caucasian kids running around in Black Panther masks. Like, yes,
Yeah.
they want that extra melanin.
Yeah.
Right? They trying to get some. What we
I
gotta
gotta
do?
go to the sun.
Absolutely, that's a
Yeah,
big deal.
That's
Like
what's up.
it's an international
It's definitely
deal.
a big deal. Definitely.
Magic. Wait till Halloween this year.
Right.
All ages, all races gonna have a mask on. That's cool though.
Have y'all ever watched, and I know it's kind of off topic, but on Netflix, have you ever watched Luke Cage?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Luke Cage is dope,
absolutely.
too.
Yo, I
He was
love
dope.
the
He was
son.
dope.
I thought they were gonna renew it for
loved
another season. What
It's coming
happened?
back. It's
Is
just he's a part of that group. So
Because Jessica Jones is coming back on the 8th.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
that's what's
one of the Caucasian superheroes. But I love Luke Cage. When I saw
It
that, I was
dope.
like,
Yeah,
yes,
it was dope. I binge watched
African
it.
American, and then he done been to prison.
He done been
He
to
done,
prison.
he done been
Yeah.
all, but then still came out on time.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, shout out to you.
Oh, and I wanted to mention this. There's this thing called the Black Panther Challenge.
Mhm.
They done sent about they raised 300. It was a GoFundMe. It's still on GoFundMe. If anybody's looking to try to take a whole school of kids to it, but they raised $350,000 to take kids to see.
That's what's up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they would buy out theaters and then take them to the movies.
God's plan?
We gonna do this? We gonna do
Man, gotta do
it
it.
wasn't for the publicity. They
It
just
wasn't.
did it.
That wasn't
That's the
publicity
difference.
either.
That what? Really?
Here's the
You
thing,
don't think
man.
Drake's God plan was for the publicity?
It was for publicity.
It was.
Why can't we publicize something that he did good?
That's fine. It still was for publicity.
Was it?
Yeah, he donated $1 million.
Dude,
And got a
say that.
charity.
You would say that.
He got a number one record by donating $1
Just
million.
because he's light skinned. Stop it.
It's not my fault.
He doesn't wear a fedora.
Just because he's light skinned, he put it in the video.
Absolutely. When you watched it, he did it for you,
I
you,
can't
and
with
you.
y'all. I cannot.
He ain't do it for me. I ain't get a check.
Can we get to the getting to know me,
Shut up.
please?
Yeah, shout out to El Diablo. Thank you. He
Hey.
said we love y'all black. Y'all back. Alyssa Bateman, thank you for tuning in. Deidre Jones, did y'all go see Black Panther? Danita Pollock, thank you for tuning in. Ashley Burton. Hey, Tay-Bay. What's happening, baby? Jacinta, thank you for tuning in. Thomas Ortiz. Crystal Wilkinson, what's happening? Lamar Kelly. El Diablo said Black Panther would have made more money across the United States if they didn't ban it from most of the theaters in certain areas. They banned it?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay. Linda Gardner. Hey, mama. What's going on? That's my Zumba part there. Did y'all see my picture?
Yeah, y'all was with the
Yeah.
y'all was working it out.
And the funny thing is we've been in Zumba for a couple of classes and I didn't realize that was her.
Wow.
Shout out to you, Linda. And she be getting it too. I be looking at her. I want my butt to look like hers. Yeah,
I
she
ain't
got
gonna
a
say
nice
that.
butt.
Hashtag life goals.
No homo. But she got a nice yes, like goes.
No homo.
No homo, but she got a nice butt, Linda. You know. Danita said, laugh my ear off. I've been searching for the adult costume. For Black Panther?
Really? Right. I need the onesie, the pajama onesie.
I need you to not have a onesie, sir.
Ooh,
My kids got onesies.
Take a picture.
That guy's with you. You gonna be
Why
like,
not?
I wanna see it.
Why not? I'm gonna definitely
Yo, let
wear
me
it.
see.
I'll wear that
Yo.
on the show.
Word. Let's wear pajamas.
That's
okay,
a fact.
no, yes. Watch your
You
words.
find it and I'll
Keep
wear
the
it.
same energy, Corey.
That's I'm doing it.
Yeah, that's
Black Panther
hilarious.
onesies. You ain't gonna look at me like that.
If
Producer
y'all
looking
want
at you
Corey,
like,
if y'all want Corey to wear the Black Panther onesie on the show,
That's
the
a
moment
fact.
we find it, I need
Find
you to hit
it.
us up.
Find it.
Send us a
I'm on
like.
it.
Send us a post it on our page.
somebody with the
Oh,
Amazon
talk
just
about
now.
it.
Talk about viral.
I got
Why
you.
you want to?
That's a fact.
Yeah.
See, trends.
We gonna put that
Cosplay.
up there. We gonna put that up there.
You better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, the likes is coming in.
That's what I'm talking about.
We
I'm
gonna
wearing
have
it.
Corey's
I'm on
gonna
it.
wear the Black Panther onesie.
That's a fact.
Make sure you have a cup.
Help light your
Yeah.
ass up.
Yeah. man.
El Diablo said when we were younger, Bill Cosby tried to give us a black superhero with the brown hornet.
Oh yeah.
The
He
brown
did.
hornet.
Forgot about
Yes, he
that.
did. But you know what they did to Bill.
I know.
You know what they did to Bill.
Everybody don't make it.
Hey,
Right.
man. Hey, man.
Shout out to Ivy Waters. Thank you for tuning in. El Diablo said, wasn't Mr. T a hero? He did have a
Absolutely.
cereal. He was.
He had a cereal.
He
He's
was.
on the 18.
He was
Yeah,
the original Black Ranger.
but he didn't want to fly.
Yeah, the original Black Ranger.
Yeah,
Just like,
cool.
he was a part of the squad.
Absolutely.
Had his own thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Word.
The old friend, what's happening, baby? Thank you for tuning in. He said a Panther hoodie.
Yeah, I would do the hoodie,
Yeah.
but you getting the onesie
Corey's
side.
gonna wear a
I'ma
onesie,
do
y'all.
it.
And
Fine.
I want the onesie to have a footy in it. Like, I want your
Footy?
feet.
On the
Right.
feet. Yeah. That's ain't a onesie if you ain't got the feet. With
Yeah.
the butters.
With the Timbers.
Because he's still New York and a Yankee hat.
Nah, I got to get the mask too, though.
Yes.
Anyway.
And the mask lights up. My son got it.
Right.
So, Corey's gonna get a Black Panther onesie,
I'm gonna
and
get it.
he gonna wear it on the show.
Let's find it.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We make sure we take a picture.
Please do.
All right, that's gonna be good. We're gonna find that.
And right below the Black Panther logo, it's just going to say dead ass.
Anyway, moving on.
I'm gonna find that joint so you say watch me.
Yeah,
Yo, that's
whatever,
gonna be
man.
hilarious.
Relax.
The jokes for days.
Yeah, funny.
I'm gonna post it on. Okay, here we go, y'all.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna get into Shout Out to Black Panther. I have more info on my take after Friday, so I'll
Yeah,
go see Friday.
next
When
week.
you going to see it?
I'm gonna go this weekend.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. All right, so we're gonna get into one of my favorite segments, is getting to know you. So we're gonna get to know the fellas and Nelly B here on the show like we always do. So a couple questions. Well, two quick questions. Let's go here. Who or where would you haunt if you were a ghost? If you were a ghost, who or where
That's a
would you
dark
Who
haunt?
are you
question.
up on that one? Go ahead. You look like a haunting type of nigga.
Where
Go
would
ahead.
you haunt
Who you haunting,
Or
Corey?
where would I hunt?
if you were a ghost?
Yeah.
Damn, son.
I thought like 5 jokes I'm not going to say right now. Enjoy yourself, Corey.
Who or where would you haunt if you were a ghost?
Damn, son. I gotta pick a particular place. I think I would just
You
be
can do who or
everywhere.
where.
I'd be everywhere.
You'd be everywhere.
I'll come for every girl that lied to me.
I can't.
You would?
Say that.
It's a fact.
Revenge.
I know you lying. Coming to find out.
Every girl and a couple niggas too.
That's a fact. Like a snuff you.
Corey is King Petty. Yo.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
All right, Jarrell, who or where would you
I'm gonna write on the glass too, like Sam Wheat from Ghost.
Really?
Boom.
I'm not.
You already know who it is.
What I'm on. I don't know. I want lavish houses. Like just to
Lavish
sleep.
houses?
Yeah, I would sleep in lavish beds. Like stuff that I know I can't afford. Okay, I just want to be chilling in the crib, changing the TV, watching my own stuff, go to the next one. You know what I'm saying?
That would be fun though.
It would
Like
be
go into my
great.
equipment and change the TV.
Yeah, I'm watching. Listen, the 138 size screen. Absolutely. I'm haunting random movie theaters. I'm watching Black Panther 14 times.
Right.
Why not? Like, so what?
I'm
Like,
intercepting that ball in the Super Bowl.
right.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
What?
I'm out of here.
Yeah,
Listen,
crazy.
it's a big deal. I'm haunting the celebrity all-star game.
I'm on Donald Trump.
Wow. Now,
More Trump.
Yes,
Listen.
yes,
Yo.
in his dreams.
yes. Yes. Shout out to-
You
You really did
Now, I have to agree with that. I
Word.
would haunt Donald Trump.
Where
I
you
mean, I
going?
would torture his
Where you
behind.
going?
Sure would.
Where you
I really
going?
would. I would really
Yeah.
would.
Is that your answer?
Yeah, it would. Yeah. I was trying to think of where, but when you said that,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm coming to get.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely coming to get Trump. Definitely. Shout out to Shell Taylor, Amber Drayton. The Bronx is in the building. What's happening, baby? Yeah, definitely. So that would be my answer.
Well,
If you could only take 3 items with you to a deserted island, what would they be?
3 items.
3 items. Now your phone and your charger is 2 separate items. Just like,
That's crazy. Oh man, what would I take? Word.
if you could only take 3 items.
Toward the,
If you're just tuning in, you tune into the Getting to Know You segment. We ask 2 questions. Everybody answers around the table, and then we get into the next topic.
my phone got all my apps on it, right?
Yeah,
Until it dies.
thanks. That's what
So I
I'm
have
saying.
a charger. She said I got 2 items.
Yeah, 3 items.
It does die. There's electric on it. I ain't playing with you. So you bringing in a phone, a charger, and
A
a
lighter?
generator?
My kids.
You ain't got no Wi-Fi though.
Jeez. Xfinity Mobile was everywhere.
Let me not be
No
petty with
plug.
your answer. Go ahead, Corey. What
No
do
plug.
you?
If you
What
could bring
things
3
are you
items, what would they be?
Not
Oh,
people, things.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm still petty with your answer. You see what
that's
I did there?
crazy. Let me say this. My Bible, my phone, and my earphones.
I was on the earphone. Okay. Jarrell?
Yeah, brother. No pressure.
Hey, Eddie Santiago, what's going on, baby? Thank you for tuning in.
All right.
The question is, if you were able to bring 3 items on a deserted island, which 3 items would they be?
I need music, so I don't know if I want to. I guess
Bring your boombox, extra batteries.
Ooh, like a radio of some sort. That's a thing. Like, listen, but I need a generator. I can't let the music stop.
Okay, so
That's the
yeah,
thing. So I'm bringing the generator.
your radio, your generator,
Yeah, and the skillet. I want to cook my food.
skillet.
Yeah, cook. Yeah, I'm catching it and I'm cooking it right now, right here. Say so. We
That's
go
what's
ahead.
up. That's
Yeah,
good.
because I got the generator now. I'm good. What else we
That's
need? Life is
So,
free.
Frida Camille, hey, baby. Thank you for tuning in. The wonderful author. Thank you for tuning in, love. If I was to bring 3 items on a deserted island, what would they be?
let's hear this.
It's not even like deep in that.
Whatever.
My vibrator. It's a battery. No. Water, of course.
Mhm.
Water. I'd rather bring as much water as I could.
That's smart. That's
Water.
smart. I didn't think about water.
Me neither. I'm on music.
We screw food. We try to live that long.
Right.
Water, food, and I would want to bring. I was trying to think like, can I bring my phone and my charger together? But I would want to have my phone with me, but it would eventually die. So
Nah, you just gotta make that call. Somebody come pick you up. You just let it die.
send the helicopters.
Right.
Send everyone.
Shout out to Dwight Johnson. Thank you for tuning in. All right, let me do one more. I know we was looking at the time, but I have a good one right here.
Oh shit.
If you had to choose to live without one of your 5 senses, which one would you choose? If you had to choose to live without one of your 5 senses, which one would you choose to lose?
Smell. I care about the things I see. That matters to me, and I got kids. I need to look at them. Taste. I care about the taste of food.
that connected though? The taste and the smell?
Chill.
Don't try to take one. You trying to
You focus on the wrong things. You focus on the wrong things.
Don't
Here,
you
I need to hear my music. I need to hear what's going on around me. I need to stay woke and touch. I need to feel. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Huh?
Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What kind of kunta? Anyway.
I second that.
The smell?
Yeah.
Smell sacrificial.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I need to smell it. Nah.
We're gonna go.
Pause. Y'all nasty thoughts. I'm not talking about that.
I need to smell it. Yeah. I definitely need to see. I think smelling is alright. Yeah, I'll go with smelling too.
Smell.
Definitely, but
You don't need to smell out here.
You don't need to smell out here, so okay.
Overrated.
Smelling is overrated.
Out here.
Javon, what's happening, baby? Ashley did say they are connected, though. Absolutely, they are.
Listen, focus on the wrong thing.
Yes, Ashley. Thank you for confirming that. All right, yeah, we're going to get into tonight's show. We just wrapping up the Getting to Know You segment. Tonight, we are talking about your delays. Your delays are not your denials. We're dealing with the threat of failure and rejection. So, truth be told, an unconscious fear of rejection can cause you to sabotage a relationship or stay in a self-destructive one too long, even though you may not be aware of it. Relationship expert Margaret Paul, PhD, writes, since people attract each other at their common level of woundedness or their common level of health, an unavailable person's fear of commitment likely mirrors your fear of commitment. Did I read that right? Yep. The fear of commitment mirrors the likeliness of your level of commitment.
Gotcha.
For many, a fear of intimacy may translate into testing a relationship by picking a partner who is wrong for them, or playing it safe by distancing themselves. So, why does it hurt to be rejected?
Because you said 20 moons ago, which was dope, it's connected to the same emotion that pain is. That kind of blew me away. I don't think nobody wants to deal with rejection. Rejection brings out a level of insecurity. It brings out a level of vulnerability. And you got to deal with that. And it makes you have to trust. And I think nobody trusts without fear, I guess. So,
I think rejection, I guess, no matter how you slice it, for some people, it translates to being incapable, right? If you have a goal to achieve something, to accomplish something, right, and you get rejected in the process, and your mind, it may flip into you being incapable of doing it, right? You thought that you weren't good enough. You thought that there's some sort of insecurity that it can play off of, right? Some people can't handle rejection. That's a thing. Right, therefore they never try. You never jumping out the window because in your mind, I gotta limit myself. Because if I go too far, guess what? I really can hurt. Like you said, it's connected to pain. Rejection can definitely hurt because it's somebody telling you you're not good enough. Right? People are afraid of the thought of failure. Right? If you know that that's what can happen again, it can cause traumatic episodes in people.
Absolutely.
Right, depending on how harsh the rejection is, and sometimes somebody is giving you that rejection to help elevate you in its own right. Right. Ironically, me and Corey were talking about the demotivational things. Sometimes somebody has to tell you, hey, that's not your lane, or you need to work better at this before you even going into that lane. It's not necessarily meant to be a hard reject, but if your wherewithal ain't strong enough, that can swallow you whole.
Very true.
I heard this saying before that I really like. It said rejection is only confirmation of the insecurity you already have about yourself.
Rejection is only confirmation for the insecurity you have about yourself.
People don't like the rejection because it confirms what you already know about yourself.
Sometimes I don't know if people are always aware. I do. They're
not aware, but I think it's there. They're just not aware of it like in that moment. But it's there, like that. Like the saying said earlier, like you attract what's already inside of you. So when the rejection comes, it's only confirmation to what you already feel about yourself.
And hurt
don't
people.
Like it.
Hurt people.
Now, and whereas I agree with that, I just think that sometimes people have egos and they think that they're in a space that they're not. So I didn't even expect that. That's where it really punches you in your throat, because when you don't expect the rejection at all, you thought, what? I'm overqualified for this. And God forbid you see somebody else attain what you thought you were good enough for. And now you're looking at them like, how did you get there and I ain't make it? Okay.
Right.
Now you're judging them off of your rejection. And you know, that's hurting people, right?
Shout out to Greg Wilkerson, John Richardson Jr., and Mel Mick. Thank you for tuning in. To what Corey said earlier, there is a psychological basis to the pain of rejection. Research shows that rejection triggers the same brain pathways that are activated when we experience physical pain.
Right.
Which says this happens to be the same system that releases opioids in the face of physical pain.
That makes sense. That's why it hurts so much. But it's not really painful.
Right.
Physical pain,
it's not
but
physical
it hurts.
pain, it's mental pain.
Yeah, it's mental
emotional pain.
That's why you can't really deal with it.
Right. And the last time we talked about this, me and Corey did a show some years back together. We were talking about that. And was it you or was it Greg? Greg said you gotta take some Tylenol. So when you go through no, actually it was one part of the study. When you experience rejection, take some Tylenol.
Right.
They said it actually because it releases the that part of your brain, the tension in that part of your brain.
It's pain reliever.
Yeah, pain reliever.
So,
yeah.
Well, I gotta get stock in Tylenol.
It's like this.
You don't handle rejection well, Corey?
Me? No, not at all.
Why not?
What was the question? Wait, what was the question?
He's such a sucker, yo.
I missed the question. What happened?
He asked me, do I handle rejection well? I said no.
Okay.
Then he said, well, why not?
Right.
And then he sniffs.
Oh.
I think it's for two reasons, though, man. I think that overall, I think rejection. I think for me, rejection is sometimes it's a confirmation for things you already know, right. And sometimes you don't really want to face, right? Sometimes rejection is for me. Sometimes I haven't really dealt with rejection well because I haven't been rejected a lot. Right.
That was a cocky statement, by the way.
I don't
think it was meant to be, but it did come out like I don't have to deal with that problem, fam.
Not at all. But here's the thing: I think that anything that I've really sat out to do, if I was patient and waiting for God to give it to me, I got it.
Absolutely.
So I just had to come to grips that I have to wait. And for me, I never really wanted to wait.
Right.
I never really wanted to wait.
Truthfully, nobody does though.
Yeah. So I'll run up on the goal like I want it. And if God tells me it's not for me to have it yet, then I gotta go sit down.
Right.
And I'm fighting everybody else to say, why can't I have it? Or this was this and this was that. But I just needed to wait a minute. The other part of it is I haven't been fortunate enough over my 36 years of living to have people that were brutally honest with me. So you almost have a false sense of security in some of the things that you go through and some of the things that you do. Because people don't want to tell you no.
Right. So,
I posted a couple days ago, and I said, relationships, whether this is a relationship in an actual physical relationship or friendships or girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever. The real test of a relationship comes when you tell the person no.
Of course. Absolutely.
Right? So, when you throw those boundaries up or things like that, you have to survive the no, which is a form of rejection. But you have to dig deeper and peel back the onion and understand why that is. Sometimes rejection doesn't mean no, it just means not right now.
Absolutely.
Right.
And in order to get to that path, you have to have a sense of self, and you have to be able to understand to wait. And then that's when prayer comes in.
Not even like, okay, maybe not right now. Maybe it's just not for you.
Yeah.
And something like I wrote in my journal, check it out, Journal for Mindful Living. It's on Amazon. Is we gotta learn to be all right with some things.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that's hard for us to accept. Like you said, when you haven't had anyone be truthful enough to set those boundaries to you. And there's some of us that are very entitled.
Yeah.
We feel like we deserve it and we should have it because we want it, and when we said it, we must get it. But nah, some things are just not for you. You just gotta learn to be all right with it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hardest things that people have an issue with.
Absolutely.
Just being all right with some things. Shout out to Beatrice, thank you for tuning in. Maisha, Maria, thank you for tuning in. Linda said rejection makes you feel unworthy, no matter how confident you may be, whether it's a relationship, a job, or whatever. Like, what's wrong with me?
And I think the other piece is that we have to respect how people process what we think rejection is. And I think, especially when you go into the relationship space, men and women deal with things very differently.
Absolutely.
Women speak their fears or insecurities out loud. Men internalize. So, I was listening to something today as I was preparing for the show, and TD Jakes was talking about how men process. We process internally. And when things really bother us and when we get upset and we get scared and we get fearful, we get quiet. Right. So, just because you brought something up on Monday and we don't talk about it until Friday, doesn't mean that we forgot. We're just trying to figure out how to fix it.
Right.
And if we don't know how to fix it, then we lost.
Y'all going to your
We're going to our internal cave. You see that? It's crazy. You go into your internal cave and sometimes you don't come out.
Right.
And, one of the things he talked about that kind of spoke to me is that when you go into your internal cave as you grow up, you're processing that failed marriage, you're processing the failed relationship, the failed job promotion, all of those things. And sometimes you need somebody to pull you out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but, women, on the other hand, you have to listen. When they speak, they talking, and when they stop speaking, then that's a problem. So I think you just have to really accept and understand people's how they communicate. And it's not always rejection, but one thing that we don't do really well, especially in this generation, is patience. We don't have patience. We want the microwave, put the shit in the microwave, spray it out in 2 minutes, and it should be fixed, and it just doesn't go like that. So, but that's where prayer comes in, and
prayer and patience.
Prayer and patience, yeah.
And also, with the prayer and the patience, it comes with the work. Right? Because, again, to me, I think a part of rejection sits in the fact of you have to ask yourself, it doesn't just come by looking and saying, what did I did wrong, right? Sometimes you got to look at all factors. All right, what can I do to put myself in a better position next time I go for this goal? Or to say that, all right, maybe this is not the goal I need to go for, but I have to reevaluate and then continue to work on self, right? People can spend too much time sulking and looking at all the negatives of the rejection, as opposed to start looking at how they can build themselves up from the rejection, right? It sometimes it's not always the bong on your head. Sometimes it's hey, next time I just need you to duck. Right? That's all it's telling you. Just duck next time. It's okay. You almost there, but you have to learn that lesson.
Yeah, I mean, like learning the lesson to communicate exactly what your needs are. With couples counseling that I do all the time, I always tell people, instead of coming with what the problem is, try to come with a solution, like a number of solutions. How can we resolve this together? One thing I had to learn as a therapist, in my mind, is always to fix everything.
Right.
And that's not what my friends always need. Sometimes they just need you to shut up and just listen.
Yeah.
And when I used to get rejected, it was like, Nelly, I didn't ask you for that. So I was taking it as being rejected. But then I had to look at it. I said, so how I came back from that was, okay, well, listen, when you call me to talk to me, let me know what you're looking for.
Yep.
Right.
Do you want advice? Do you want me to help you fix it? Or you just want to talk? Or you just want to vent? I need to know that.
That's big. So for me, I'm guilty of that. You tell me a problem, especially my girl, like if you're telling me a problem, I want to fix it.
Right,
exactly. I feel like that's my job.
Right.
And sometimes you just need me to shut up.
Right.
But for me, to your point, and then for professionally, that's what I do, right? But at the end of the day, I need you to show up and tell me what you need from me that time when you talk to me.
Exactly.
It is just really showing me how to communicate with you. You just need to say, Corey, I just need you to listen.
Right.
And I'll listen. If I need help fixing next, then I'm going to try to help you fix it. But I think it's just really understanding. It's a self-esteem issue too. Sometimes rejection goes into your self-esteem.
Right.
And I was prepared for the show, and I read something that said, with men don't get self-esteem from who they love. They get self-esteem from what they do.
Absolutely.
And women get self-esteem from who they love. They often define themselves as the wife, or find themselves inside of being the wife, being the mother, being the girlfriend, or whatever. But it's kind of vice versa. So you kind of have to respect and understand where that comes from. But to, I think Jarrell's point earlier, it's patience, and it comes from communication. Is such a big word, but it's so powerful. And sometimes you just gotta shut up and humble yourself.
To what Jarrell said earlier too, and I agree with what you're saying. Communication it's a big word, but the understanding. You know what I mean? Going back to what I like to say is learn to be all right with some things. I know a lot of women, and I hear it all the time, but he just won't listen to me. And it's not that he won't listen, it's just that he's not responding the way you want him to respond.
Right.
He's listening.
Right.
But because the response is not what you think the response should be, because he's not getting as worked up. I actually had a girlfriend who told me her man pisses her off, and I said, why? She's like, because every time I bring him an issue, he's always so and she's like, I know it's going to sound bad, Nelly, but he's always so positive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is that a bad thing?
Right.
And she was like, it just annoys me. I said, it just annoys you because he's not getting as all worked up as you getting worked up. And you don't know how to deal with that because you can't control your own emotions.
Yeah, it's not rejection.
Right.
We process. I'm super guilty, and it would come across like I'm very, very nonchalant and I don't care. But Jarrell has been getting on me since we started the show that I like to plan.
Right.
So you don't ask me something off the cuff and expect me to do certain things. But I think for me, I like to I have to process, and I keep saying that I'll process. But I do it until I find a solution,
right.
Or I try to fix it. I know how to fix it, but
exactly.
So,
Jovan said, rejection comes at all times, but you're the universal answer for them.
Right.
But when you don't,
laugh out loud, fear, doubt, shame, etc.
The feeling of rejection
equals the feeling of rejection.
Absolutely, right? And I agree, right? Sometimes that fear, doubt, and shame can, right? The shame, that's the thing, right?
What's that?
The shame, right?
Yeah.
So the feeling of rejection can come with a level of shame.
Absolutely,
right? It's that thing that makes you say, wow, how is the world going to view me? Mm-hmm. Right, the perception of others, especially those that you care about, in that rejection part, right? Which goes to your portion, Nelly, when you were talking about how you had to dial it down in certain cases, right? I've had that same situation happen with me and some of my friends before. When you come to me about your situation, I'm gonna kick it to you, and I'm gonna kick it to you raw,
right?
And so you don't come to me no more, and I'm like, yo, what's good, fam? What happened? Right. And now because I didn't want that from you every time. Right. Cool. So now I had to dial it back, right? And it sometimes it's just hard for people to comprehend and understand and meet in the middle, right? And without looking at yourself different. Looking at yourself different can truly lower your self-esteem and hurt how you actually handle the whole circumstance.
Yeah. Here's a powerful comment. The effects of rejection can be worse when you receive it from family. Very true.
Oh, yeah.
Many people experience it when they're young, and it contributes to inadequate relationship as adults. That's very true.
Absolutely.
Very true.
That's where a lot of the fears come from. We weren't born with these fears.
Right.
If you think back to your childhood or even your kids, they're like fearless. They do anything, and you're like, oh my gosh. It's because they don't know any better. It's not until that stuff is instilled in them.
Yeah.
And we have to realize, even as kids, and I, raising my 8-year-old, I have to watch my mouth so many times because I'm planting seeds.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I want to be like, oh my God, you're so stupid. But I know I can't because I'm planting seeds. So I have to be like, you're so smart. Oh, you is so smart.
Right.
Because I know I'm planting seeds.
Though.
And all of that is what really, like she said, it contributes to your, the effectiveness of you as an adult and the relationships that you have. A lot of, and even, sorry to cut you off, but psychologically, a lot of the patients and a lot of mental health members that I do have, a lot of the stuff that we deal with, and even just people in general, stems from childhood.
Yep.
A lot of trauma. And so that's what we get the fear. We've been rejected a lot. Just like Frida said, we've experienced different things that was traumatizing to us. So it causes us to now have that wall up, that now I can't go any better. I can't do any better. If your mom or your dad always told you you'll never be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Mama, grow up and think I'm never going to be nothing.
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate.
I think the way one deals with resiliency and rejection, or the way one exhibits resiliency through rejection, is learned behavior. To speak to that same point, I know this because I think about myself within raising my daughter at times, right? So there are times when if she's acting out and there's other people around, I'm pulling her aside and we're having a conversation. Because that no loudly in front of everybody, I know how that would have hit me, especially at that age. Ooh, I'm not moving right. Okay, it's not. And she's very strong-willed and free-minded. So, right, that fight or flight mentality kicks in with fear, right? So now I'm afraid of how this looks, and so do I shrink or do I get big because of that? If I pull you aside and we have a conversation, I don't have to worry about extra discipline. We're gonna cut this right down, right? Makes it a lot easier to deal with. A lot of times in that rejection, because of that fear, that fight or flight mentality comes in and it starts to scream. Exactly. And sometimes that can put yourself in a worse position than you started off.
Absolutely.
I got a question. Yep. So back to my point, and this is really a question for you guys. I'm curious now. Thank you. You sparked something in me. So, when I was talking about how men process issues, we kind of process them internally, women speak them out. So, say on Monday you ask me, you have a problem, you want to discuss it. I don't come back in the time that you see fit.
Right.
What if the woman interrupts that process? What happens, you think? Does the man feel pressure? Does he respond based off of that? Or what happens? Or how is that supposed to be communicated? because I think for me personally, if I'm not as quick to respond or I'm not as quick to give you an answer, but it's really because I'm processing. And I really don't know. Some men don't know how to deal with the reaction or the response to. That's why I was asking the question, because I'm guilty of that. If you interrupt my process, I might spaz out. Mm-hmm. And not because I want to. It's just I don't know how to. Just give me some time, I guess.
Process it.
Yeah, just give me some time to process. But I think to Jarrell's point, I don't think that should leave the woman unfulfilled. I just don't know what the answer to that is. And maybe do you ask for more time? Maybe men have to ask for more time, so it doesn't seem like rejection.
Right. I think that's what a huge part. And you said it earlier. The communication is key. Yeah. You know, because even for ladies, we don't have the patience with that. Because like I said, we'll talk ourselves into a conclusion, and they'd be like, "Well, dag, nigga, forget it. Like I don't need you to, I don't need your answer no more." But we don't understand the process of men and how that rejection can affect you guys.
Oh yeah.
So I think the communication on both parts is important to let them know, like, babe, I'm still trying to figure things out. Prime example, I was in the car before I got here talking to my boo, and I was telling him about some stuff with my son, and he was just real quiet. And I said, "So what are your thoughts?" And he didn't respond. I was like, "So what are your thoughts? Like, did you hear what I said?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm just processing everything."
Yeah.
And I was cool, but like when you just got quiet, I thought, "What happened?"
The disclaimer makes you feel ignored.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Like I was talking about my son.
Yeah.
Like, say something. So, but because he did inform me he was processing it, I felt better. I was like, okay, cool. So that was okay. But now Peter kept, not saying nothing. Then they might have started to fight. And it would have been ugly.
I think for me, I have a problem with coming back and saying either asking for more time to process or explaining what I'm. Because once I'm good at saying I'm processing,
right?
But I'm not necessarily good at coming back because I can process and process and process.
And you're stuck in the processing phase.
And then sometimes I need you to come help me out of it, but I'm not necessarily.
Are you able to come back and say, "I need you to help me out of this"?
In some cases, in certain things, I think I'm really good at it when it doesn't have to do with my own emotion.
Okay.
I think I'm really good at it then. I think when it comes to like something I need to go fix, probably I'm better at it. Something outside of fixing myself, I think I'm probably better at. If I need to go do something or I need help with something, then I probably can ask for help with that. But other than that, I don't think I've arrived at that 100% yet.
Cool. Let's talk about the fear of failure real quick, because we said, it's kind of, aren't they the same?
Failure?
Fear of rejection and failure? Would you say that they're the same?
They cousins.
They cousins.
Yeah,
that's a great way to look at it.
They cousins, right? They're related.
Yeah, because I think somebody who's afraid of rejection, whereas failure is rejection is a reason for failure, not the only reason though. Like, so I might be afraid of failure because I can succeed past the initial part of no. Right, but then I fell flat on my face. So guess what? Okay, right. So you made it so far, and then just to get knocked down here, and that letdown for some people, this goes back to causing a traumatic episode. Right, if you jumped up and you made it so high that now you're afraid that you may never make it up that high again. So now you're afraid to jump. Right, and now people start limiting themselves mentally, right? That you can become a mental midget that way. You never actually reach your full potential or fully grow because you're so afraid of hitting that height, and now I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, so. And taking it off the relationships tip a little bit. Because I think you people deal with it professionally also.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's a big deal for me. That's why at work I try to motivate as much as possible. On all levels. I try to encourage and motivate on all levels just because of the simple fact that so many people don't get that. They get so down on themselves that they just feel like they can't do this, they can't do that. Or people put their restrictions on you. And I think it's important that you have to motivate. And, whether you're professionally or a leader, you lead people, or if you're a family member, I look at my nieces and my nephews as they grow up. It's important that you're there for them to listen to them and also encourage them that it's all right.
Right.
I think that's a big deal. So, but here's the flip side to it. Sometimes rejection is a confirmation that God will really tell you it's not for you. So I keep hitting you with these doors and smacking you in your face with these doors, but I'm giving you what you asked me for, but I know it's not for you.
Right.
So at the end of the day, sometimes rejection and the fear of failure is because you already know that it's a failed process.
Confirmation.
It's confirmation.
But see, because of the fear of failure, because like that quote said at the beginning, we fear the failure, so we stay in it, or we sabotage it, or we're afraid to leave a toxic situation.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we're never going to be happy, and we're always going to be hurt.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a bunch of dysfunction.
Yeah.
My mom used to always say, if it's God's will, it will always work.
Yeah.
Like, you ain't got to fight that hard. If you have to fight so hard to make something work, maybe it's not the will of God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My mom used to always say that.
Right.
And it kind of made sense to me as I got older. Like, okay, cool. Because when things are supposed to happen, it kind of just falls into place without you putting so much work into it. I'm not saying you're not going to work. You're going to work. But, when you just constantly fighting and hitting this brick wall, then clearly something ain't supposed to work.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's not because it's not for you. It's just not for you right now. Sometimes also you have growing to do, and you have, again, you're not ready for that job. Because here's the thing, and I had to get this, professionally. Here's the thing, Corey. If I give it to you right now, you're gonna mess it up.
Right.
You're not prepared to handle it right now. So the blessing that I have for you, you're not prepared to handle it right now. So wait.
It goes back to the saying. I'm gonna say something real quick. But when you like your TDJ stuff, you said it, and I thought it was phenomenal. He was shaving, and his son was watching him shave, but his son was only like 5 or 6. And he was like, "Daddy, I want to shave." He's like, "It's for you, just not right now. Because if I give it to you now, you're gonna hurt yourself because you're not matured enough to learn how to understand how to use it." But that's real. But it is something that is for you because he's a man and he's gonna eventually shave. And I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, wow,
it's a good analogy.
For you. It's just right now. It's just not for you.
Not for you.
Absolutely.
I thought that was hot.
And I look at that on the flip side. I guess 2 different ways, 2 different thoughts. To that point specifically, right? I think about going into battle. Somebody's going into war. If technically your armor isn't correct, right? You don't have the right weaponry. You're not ready, right? And so even when you say, hey, sometimes fighting so hard for something may mean it's not for you. It may also mean that you're fighting the wrong way. You're fighting the wrong person. You have an internal battle when you're really fighting somebody else, right? Again, I think sometimes when people reach a level of quote unquote failure, they a lot of times will start pointing fingers at other people as opposed to internalizing and seeing how to make themselves better, right? So because you're not fixing yourself, you're not adding to your toolkit, you're not even sharpening your knife. So you're not really ready for this war. So that's why you're not supposed to be there. I think that happens. I also think that in the world of fear of failure, I think people are afraid of their own power.
Absolutely.
Right? I think there's sometimes somebody can be so great, but in their mind, they don't see the greatness when they look in the mirror. They don't see it. Like, it's there, but I don't see how this star don't shine the same for me, right? And it's because I look at the star every day. I see this star's flaws. I know what's wrong with this star, okay? And I'm afraid that if I shine that bright, everybody else gonna see these flaws too, right? So now I'm not shining at all. I'm dulling my whole light, and you don't even realize that. A lot of times people don't realize that the effect it has on everyone else around them because you dim your light, you're not helping everybody else be great. You can be an inspiration if you choose to. If you choose to keep it dim, then nobody's going to be inspired.
Shout out to Ty. Thank you for tuning in, Mama. Ty Tria. She said rejection can be a Tadrea. Sorry, Tadrea. Whatever, Tadrea. Shut up. Tadrea was handing me. Anyway, she said it can save us from something that we aren't prepared for. Just because we want something doesn't mean it's for us at that moment. Same thing you just said. Jacinta said, I agree with Ty. Rejection once saved my life. Sometimes we need it to keep us safe, to help us grow, to regulate egos too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ego regulation. That's a thing.
Ego regulation.
But you gotta be humble enough.
I'm sorry, I had to duck from his ego. Did you see it? It's all over the room.
Wait, why did we both stop? Like, wait.
You don't know who he is.
Oh, man. Why are you going to your coat, though?
Listen, to create more room for your ego.
Yeah, we both was like,
let's keep it moving.
Failing presents such a significant psychological threat to their motivation that failure exceeds the motivation to succeed. The threat of failure exceeds the motivation to succeed.
Absolutely.
So this fear of failure causes them to unconsciously sabotage their chances of success in a variety of ways. And that's everything you was just actually saying. When we have this threat of failure, when we deal with the rejection, we actually mess ourselves up.
I agree.
We actually mess ourselves up.
I think I was guilty of that in the past. I think sometimes I still struggle with that. People will tell you how much of an inspiration you can be to them, and you just because you don't necessarily see it. But what's happened in my life is that God has moved anything that I feared out of my way.
Absolutely.
And I think recently he's doing that for me professionally. And I just think that I didn't understand exactly. I think to your point earlier, recognizing how big your power can be and how much your light can shine and how much it is. And I never doubted my ability. I think I knew what my ability was. But then he said, "Okay, well, since you doubted it, I'm going to remove anything that you felt like was going to get in your way out." And if that means people, if that means I'm going to change the organizational goals and putting it in you in a position for you to shine, like I told you that you could.
Right.
There's a reason why you didn't get the job that you applied for. There's a reason they didn't call you back because I told them not to pick up the phone. And I think you just have to be patient. You have to wait. But I think that for me that comes with the power of prayer, and I think that it happens that way for a reason. So sometimes again it kind of goes back. Sometimes rejection doesn't mean no; it just means not right now.
Is there a difference between low self-esteem and humility?
Yes, absolutely.
And I know that. I'm just saying.
You offended him.
Yeah, I did. Absolutely.
Will you go back to
Do you realize how humble I am?
Shit.
Yeah.
If you ain't got no ego, I can be humble, dog.
Okay.
Everybody knows how
Right.
to ego.
So no, the reason why I'm saying that is because I don't know if it's just society or how we were raised.
Right.
We're not taught to embrace our greatness.
Yeah.
We're really not taught to embrace it. So when someone does tell you you're such an inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like a cowering, like, who, me?
Right.
Me? Yeah, in the moment of you being inspirational and doing what you do in your purpose, you're great at it, you operate it, you feel great. But then when somebody acknowledges it, it's like we're taught to cower away from that acknowledgement. And that's why I was like, is there a difference between being humble, or just is that being like saying you have low self-esteem? Well, I know it's really not, but I'm just putting it out there.
And just I have two separate thoughts, but one being to the humility thought. And by the way, Broadway, humble here. Now,
Exactly, Broadway. Exactly, humble where.
But to that thought, the theory of someone being great or me being great doesn't mean I can't be greater, right? There are levels to this, and you can always have room to grow. The
Absolutely.
minute people stop feeling like they have room to grow or stop remembering that there's a greater level that you can always hit, then you stop growing in life, and now hope starts to shrink.
Right.
And a life without hope is very scary. And also to the thought of the fear. Also, I had asked my mentor one time. I said to her, I said, how do you deal with the fear? Right, the fear to jump, the fear to leap, the fear to take that next step. She said to me, because you always have to know that you're better than the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which is powerful because it's hard to know that you're better than the fear.
Right.
And, but if you don't embody that, you're going to let it swallow you alive.
Know that you're better than the fear.
That's dope.
And you have to know it. You can't just think it. You can't second guess it. You have to know it.
You have to know it.
Right. Go ahead. What you just gonna say?
I
And we gonna
totally
wrap it.
just lost my point just now. It's all good.
There's that ego.
Right. Ayana said, God did not give us a spirit of fear. And that's something we always talk about, with the Bible and those who are believers. We always say that, but we don't really live it.
Well,
And I think that's what makes it hard.
I think my point was I was going to say, so what happens is I recognize with me, I may have those fears, but until you tell me that I can't,
Right.
Because
then
you're
the
that
ego
type
show
of
up.
nigga.
Yeah. So then when you tell me that I can't have it or I'm not this and I'm not that, now I'm going to demolish you. Because
Right.
I know that I can, but it only comes up when challenged maybe or somebody tests you, I guess.
Right.
So just something to think about.
Todd said faith over fear. We're gonna wrap it up. That's true. I'm sorry. Having faith definitely overcomes the fear.
Cool.
Real quick. So dealing with the dread of failures, your delays are not your denials. And like you said earlier, just because it's not happening now doesn't mean that it's not gonna ever happen. You gotta be patient.
Right.
Real quick, your words of advice before we wrap up.
Go ahead, G.
This is gonna sound crazy.
I like what you just said about your mentor.
But of course, have a contingency plan. Look at all available options of what can happen in that space, and then know what you're gonna do next. Because sometimes it's a lot easier to get past the rejection or the fear of the failure if you know what your next steps to be. If you have no clue, then you feel like you'll be lost and out there. So figure out your next step and then move through.
Definitely. What did you say your mentor said?
Be better than the fear.
Be better than the fear. Go ahead.
I think 2 points for me. simple word, communicate. I think that you have to be able to communicate past it. I think recognizing who your partner is, understanding who they are, and having that extra conversation to say, we're not doing that. I feel like that's fear. I feel like that's rejection. And saying those corny words makes all the difference in the world. The other piece to that is pray. I mean, I don't know what else, it's simple as that. Pray and wait for the answer. Just because it's not now doesn't mean that it won't happen for you.
Right.
You just have to, prepare yourself and get ready for that. And lastly, just be humble enough to, whether you say sorry or whether you can work past it. I think all of that humility is key. So,
only thing I want to say is that I agree with both of you guys. One thing I really want to say is learn to be all right with some things. That's really, really key for me. Some things just not for you, and it's okay.
Word.
I don't think we are told that it's okay enough. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Everything is not for you. So learn to be all right with some things. And I agree with the both of you. And I really like the thing. Know that you're better than the fear. Embrace your greatness. Whatever you're good at, embrace it and be that. It's a lot of work when you try to be something you're not.
Right, absolutely.
I think that's where the struggle comes in.
My commitment will be that I will be greater than the fear.
There it is.
Yeah.
Know that you're better than the fear.
So starting now.
Okay, starting now. All right, yeah. So meet us here next week. We'll see if he accomplished that goal.
In the Black Panther outfit, if I find it.
With the footies.
With the hood. With the footies.
Okay,
and dead ass.
We're gonna wrap this up, but Corey's gonna get a Black Panther. What is it? Pajama set.
No.
You forgot, so I can't.
A Black Panther onesie. I did not forget.
He's gonna wear it on this show, so y'all look out for that.
If I find it, if y'all find it, let me know. Hit me up.
The internet has everything.
Yes, they
Meet us
do.
here next week, same time, same place, on Ayo, the show where you're not a victim, but you're a what? A volunteer.
Yeah, a volunteer, right?
Invigorating conversation.
In a onesie. In a onesie. Y'all take it
Have
easy.
a good week, y'all.
Hey, yo, tune into the podcast app. Talk to y'all later. See y'all Wednesday. Peace.
Know that you're better than the fear. That's good.
That's dope. Shout out to your mentor.
I like it.